Good morning. I'm Doreen Taravella. I'm the president of the board of directors for O'Brien House, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our 18th annual breakfast, albeit this is the very first one that we are doing in a virtual format. We're very grateful that our development committee has been able to turn around quickly and revamp this. We also are very grateful for our sponsors and table captains that make this breakfast a success every year. This is the first of 3 episodes. This morning, we will hear from one of our graduates. We will also hear a testimonial from one of our sponsors, and we will pay tribute to one of our partners. This will be followed by the reading of the winning essay from our contest. But before we get started, and on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank our executive director, Todd Hamilton. We certainly appreciate his drive to problem solve and his openness to new ideas and his commitment to advance the mission of this agency. We are fortunate to be able to rely on his strong leadership. Our executive, clinical, and leadership teams, along with our volunteers, have been developing very dynamic and detail-rich programming to deal with some of the challenges that have been presented by COVID-19. They have paid particular attention to those challenges that are unique to a halfway house environment. We will continue to strive to offer treatment to our clients in a safe and stable environment. O'Brien House offers unparalleled structure and vitality for recovery. It is our hope to provide a safe space in which our clients can assimilate the tenets of the program and get the tools that they need to establish and maintain sobriety. We are very grateful to be able to be with our precious clients and watch the miracles that they experience over and over and over again. And with that vision, for many of us, comes the opportunity to revisit the grace of our own. Thank you for helping us to help those that are still out there. Because of your support and generosity, we will have the privilege of continuing to reach out to those that are still suffering from this insidious disease of addiction. We appreciate your support. It is very critical at this point. Thank you for being with us today.
Hi, I'm Charlie Lamar. My family owns Lamar Advertising Company. And after my retirement and us going public, I also created the Charles Lamar Family Foundation, which has been active in our community with grants and other help to nonprofits. And we are delighted to continue our help for O'Brien House. A few years ago, the board decided to expand and build a separate residence facility for women in the program, and I was lucky enough to be able to participate in that and honored that the board decided to name the facility after my mother, Josephine Pugh Lamarr. So that's a great honor for our family. The programming, I mean, it used to be basically a shelter, the early days compared to what's going on now with multiple programs and educational programs and career development programs. It's great to think about that growth over time. I'm really proud to have been a part of it. I've never met a person who's in recovery that was not a joyful, love of life person. And unfortunately, I have met also people who are in the throes of addiction and alcoholism. And frankly, I mean, not only are their lives a shamble, but they're not very pleasant to be around. Another reason why I love supporting O'Brien House is because I've seen that difference between, somebody who's struggling with addiction and then somebody who is successful in their recovery, and it's just a world of difference. O'Brien House is one of the unique facilities for people recovering from alcoholism and drug addiction because it does not charge fees. Most of his clients are homeless people. They have no resources, and they are welcomed into the program. And O'Brien House fills a true void in the health care facilities for that population in the Baton Rouge area. Without our help and with the help of other donors in Baton Rouge, there would be no O'Brien House. Again, this is not a public agency and it does not charge for services, so it's pretty easy to do the math. Without the community support, those people would not have the help that they receive at O'Brien House. And to me personally, it's satisfying, so I get as much pleasure out of being able to participate than I hope that the clients get from improving their lives.
My name is Katie, and I'm an alcoholic. I have always had an addictive personality and an inability to cope with life. I overate, then went to cutting, then anorexia, added on a little bulimia. I had an abusive childhood, locked in closets, surrounded by arguments and violence. At 7 years old, my father tried to kidnap me, and I jumped out of the car to escape. My mother, grandmother, and I moved to Baton Rouge from our home in Kentucky in the middle of the night. I had a brain aneurysm at the age of 13. After the hospital, I was prescribed Adderall, which I hated taking at first. In the morning, my mother would say, "Don't talk to me until you take your medicine." I feel like her telling me that meant a pill would make me more acceptable and loved. It was an unintentional mark left on me. When I got to college, I began drinking heavily until I blacked out. I tried rushing a sorority, and during a drinking bout, I fought a girl and got kicked out. During one of my blackouts, I woke up to my boyfriend raping me. I went on to graduate and work on my master's degree. I was close to finishing when he broke up with me. I ran again. I went to New Orleans to become a bartender on Bourbon Street. I learned a lot in those establishments. I learned about cocaine and heroin. I also learned hustling, manipulation, and dishonesty would get me what I wanted in life. I got arrested for the first time and pled out to drug court. I went to several different treatment facilities and just couldn't get it right. My addiction led me to sex work, multiple rapes, kidnappings, beatings, 3 drive-by shootings, dragged by a truck, arrested 33 times. The list goes on ad infinitum. I did things I didn't think I was capable of, and they called that incomprehensible demoralization. When I found myself in jail one more time, I had money to bond out but no one to call. Someone talked about the Hope Center. Somehow I knew the solution was there. I stayed sober a year and relapsed. I went back to treatment and stayed sober 2 years. I helped open a sober living house for women. I got pregnant, gave birth to a son, and suffered from postpartum depression. The man I call my father was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I relapsed, leaving my 2-month-old with my mother. While I was in treatment again, my father died, then my mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. I didn't leave treatment. I knew I had to be sober to be present for my mother. I could not make the same mistake I did with my father. Then the pandemic hit. This has been a hard year for everyone, especially people in recovery. I became isolated, caring for my mother through chemo and radiation. I worked from home, cared for her and for my child. I couldn't go to meetings, meet with sponsees, meet with my sponsor, see my friends, even go to the store. I was not spiritually fit enough to deal with recovery and isolation. I felt trapped and ran to my chemical escape one more time. I realized how important the fellowship was in that moment. Fellowship is half the solution. You can see the devastating effects of isolation all around. More people have overdosed and died during this pandemic than I have ever seen before. Some people with years of sobriety fell off the wagon. Now I am 4 months sober, serving as house mom and teacher at a sober living house. I have a new sponsor. I am willing to do a lot of things differently now. I got rid of friends who no longer nourished me spiritually, going to more meetings than required. I found a fellowship in AA, not around AA, with people who work a strong program of recovery. I have a new concept of a higher power. I meditate daily. I do spot check inventories throughout the day and a nightly inventory before sleep, which helps me deal with circumstances and cope with emotions I have run from in the past. I have a sense of peace and freedom like never before. I'm not a victim of my past. I acknowledge the part I played in every situation I found myself in. I was diagnosed with cancer. I lost custody of my child and any relationship with my family. They no longer speak to me. Nevertheless, I live in the solution. I realize there is no excuse sufficient to relapse. I have a new family in Alcoholics Anonymous and trust that through practicing these principles and keeping faith in my higher power, I will get back everything I lost and more.
My name is Tammy. I am a graduate of the O'Brien House. I now currently reside in the extended care program of the SRO. I work at Gambino's Bakery here in Baton Rouge, and it's a wonderful place to work. It's a great support system. My journey through addiction wasn't like a lot of people's journey. Mine was different in my eyes. I had several health problems, so my addiction was opiates. And I didn't do any kind of other drugs. I never have. I've only done, prescription pain pills. And the thing is that I always felt like that, I wasn't real druggy, But going through the O'Brien House, I realized that one drug is no different than the other. It's about being able to realize that it doesn't matter what kind of issue you have as long as you get help for it. Then you have the chance to have the life that you had before you ever started it. There's so many opportunities out there, and I've wasted years of my life when I could have been admitting I had a problem, going through the O'Brien House, going through the steps of recovery, and coming out as strong as I am today. My little brother, he's a previous client of the O'Brien House, and his life is the best it's ever been. And it's all because he went through this program at O'Brien. I told him that I wanted to come to O'Brien. I seen how his life was, and I knew if it could work for him, it could work for me. I walked in the door at the O'Brien House, and I was really scared because I thought to myself, oh my goodness, he has sent me to a assisted living facility, but it's for like young people. And I seen all these people walking around, and I was like, I'm not gonna make it. This is not gonna happen. These people are not gonna be nice. We all got problems. We're gonna clash. And within the very first night, I had met people, and they were explaining their journey to me. Their journey was similar to mine, but they just welcomed me. The staff there welcomed me. So by the next morning, it was like I had woke up and I actually felt like I belonged, and it was less than 24 hours. And so through the O'Brien House program, I learned how to have a bank account again. I learned how to have a job, one that I have had now for almost 10 months. I learned how to rebuild my relationship with my family. My relationship with my family I can't even explain how great it is right now. But I also rely on the O'Brien House still, even though I'm not there. I rely on them for a lot of support. My nephew passed away from overdose in June. He was 19 years old. And he had struggled since he was 13, on and off with addiction. And he had tried several times to get clean, and he was on his way. I'd seen him several times. I talked to him every day. I knew he was doing what he was supposed to be doing. But then the COVID hit, and when it hit him, like, a lot of other people, they didn't have a job. They didn't have anything but empty time on their hands. And he couldn't figure out what to do. And I couldn't help but think, he's so young. And I wonder what, today, what he would be like if he would have gotten the chance to go through his recovery. If the battle, if it wouldn't have won and took his life. Because you can't tell me that any addict out there or any alcoholic out there wants to die. They don't. But it's just wanting a feeling where everything else just doesn't matter anymore, and it's okay for a few minutes. It doesn't always come back. You don't always get a few more minutes after that. So while you're sitting there thinking, this ain't gonna happen to me, I'm just gonna do it one more time, it's gonna be okay. That's not true. It's like knowing that you've been diagnosed with a disease and that there's no ultimate cure unless you want it bad enough. And a lot of people don't get that opportunity to even want it. They know they need it, but they don't take that opportunity. So if you're looking for a way to fix your life, all you have to do is ask. And if you fail the first time, it's okay. Just pick the phone back up again. Walk back in another door. Ask somebody, anybody. They will help you, because nobody deserves to live a life like we've been living. I want to live my life the way it was meant to be lived. I want to be an example. I want to help others. I want to tell my nephew's story, because I want somebody to know that going through things like that, there is hope. It doesn't have to end like that.
My name is Harriet Budgewater. I am the lead cook at the O'Brien House. I've been here for 3 years. I feed about 50 to 70 clients every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The clients love my cooking, the staff loves my cooking, everybody loves my cooking. Every Tuesday we get a delivery from the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank. And we greatly appreciate the order that we receive. If we didn't have the food bank, I honestly don't know what we would do, because the food bank makes up the majority of our pantry here and our freezer. So if we didn't have the food bank, I don't know how we would make it. Everything that they have given us, we strongly appreciate it all, and we thank you very much.
My name is Jessica Gwen Johnson, and I serve as the Vice Chairman of the O'Brien House Board of Directors. I'm a native of Baton Rouge and an attorney here in the city, and I've been affiliated with O'Brien House since 2016. O'Brien House provides a safe, home-like environment to homeless, indigent alcoholics, and addicts in recovery. Clients complete the program when they have attained at least 90 days of sobriety, have a job, a savings plan, a housing plan, and participate in 12-step meetings and aftercare groups. But it's not as easy as it sounds. Alcoholism and addiction treatment for indigent adults has never been a profitable enterprise, and the pandemic has complicated everything. People need us now more than ever. Retail alcohol sales have skyrocketed since March, and drug overdoses have spiked also. People in recovery are told not to isolate themselves, but stay-at-home orders have forced them to do so. As the economy suffers, funding for treatment programs is at risk. There are more costs associated with running these programs during a pandemic. There's more sanitizing that's required. Social distancing requires us to hire more staff to conduct multiple small group meetings simultaneously, as opposed to holding larger group meetings at the same time. And completing a program is tough when there are less opportunities available for jobs and for community support. The pandemic has kept us from getting together this morning for an actual breakfast, but we still need your support at the suggested donation level of $100. Since 1971, our effectiveness has been demonstrated one sober person at a time. We need your financial support now more than ever. please consider making a donation today through any of our methods, PayPal, Venmo, or by calling the office or writing us a check. We thank you so much for your support and for your contribution.